Herbert was my brother. He was much more than a friend. He was family. And his loss left a great vacuum in this entire family.
I think I'm in a nightmare. I wake up hoping that most of this will be over, or that we will hear that it's a joke, or that we will hear that it's fake news.
Herbert was a fantastic older brother. He always made life exceptionally hard for some of us, and I'll tell you the reason why. He set the bars a bit too high. So some of us that came after him, we knew that we had tough shoes to fill.
From when we were children, was a very focused child. Of all of us, he was the child that from an early age knew exactly what he wanted to study, knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to be an accountant.
He was a little bit more mature than we were at the time. When I met him, we were about 12 years old. But there were things that he used to say that were quite amazing. I remember once we were just playing and Herbert would say, I want to get married at 20 or at most 25, so that by the time I'm 50, I would have stopped paying school fees. I would look at him and say, what are you talking about? That's 38 years from now and you're talking. But that's the person he was.
Playful, enjoyed himself, did everything a young boy would want to do. And then all of a sudden, he was this brother who became very serious with his work. So in Daddy trying to tell someone like me to work like Herbert and look up to Herbert, had said, sometimes you get to a point when you decide you want to become serious and something, and he never turned back. So he became that brother who I saw as playful, who would play Barry White music, will come back home, he wants to play music, he wants to live the life. So that brother who, yes, he enjoyed that music, but he became so serious with anything he had to do.
He was mischievous, yet he was focused. It was a rare combination of mischief and focus.
Mommy Wigwe shared a story with me the other day, and she said she remembered when Herbert was about, she said he was about 6 or 5, and they were stuck in traffic. And that he looked at her and said, very soon, I won't be stuck in traffic. But when I grow older, I would fly. Everything, I would have my own jet. And it struck me.
As a child, you could see that Herbert would go places. You could see it in him, because he was a leader. He had those leadership qualities in him.
A man full of energy, a man full of his dreams, a caring man. Herbert had such a big heart.
He's always been a fearless, audacious person.
Dr. Herbert was a selfless person.
Herbert always wanted to help. I found that about him. Very kind.
So he was full of energy, like he was unstoppable. Always had so much enthusiasm and optimism for life.
Herbert's passion for his people in Isiokpo was so admirable and, infectious that you won't help but want to be part of his people.
He's fearless and able to achieve what mere men cannot achieve.
He meant so much to me, to the bank, to the industry, to Nigeria, to Africa, to the world, indeed. And as a banker, as everyone will recognize, a very consummate professional. He had a passion for what he was doing.
He had a knack for big ticket transactions. It was almost as though he could smell big deals from afar, and like a magnet, he would attach himself to those transactions, ensuring that he secured the transactions for the bank.
He is extremely intelligent. For every time he spoke, there was something to learn.
You are forced to think about what you're thinking about on the very highest level, right? Because for him, it has to be on that particular level of, perspective towards life.
He was a mentor, he was a leader, passionate about everything he set his mind to do.
There's nothing he will ask you to do that he wouldn't do. So if you are staying awake till midnight, Herbert was staying awake till 2 a.m. And even after you have slept, he's still working and creating value.
He's a leader by example. When you see Herbert or Ike working, you can't complain. Because they are there before you. They close, and we close, and they're still there. You come back the next day, they're there. A lot of people are so motivated, by his leadership style.
I think I learned resilience from him.
It's a source of energy, source of drive, motivation. The can-do spirit is, if you're around him, is overflowing. So you cannot be, feel defeated if you're around Herbert.
Herbert was humble, very, very humble. And so, you can have bosses that before you take a matter to them, you need to think it through, rehearse. That's not Herbert. His door was always open. You walked in there and you just said it as it is.
Dr. Herbert was many things, and someone who was always there to give me advice and mental and psychological support through the various challenges of life.
Uncle Herbert was kind. Uncle Herbert was very firm. Uncle Herbert was very dependable.
There was nothing too small for Herbert to do. I mean, when he says he's going to do something, it's like magic, he does it.
A very thoughtful person, very considerate. He needed more than 24 hours in a day, right? But even in that, he had time for you.
One that admires gifts of God in every human being.
Everything he did was something you'd compare with excellence. He put excellence there and expect you to strive at however you want to get it, what he wants is excellent.
And I remember he came on a courtesy visit to my
digital play, whether it's working with youth, working with entrepreneurs, working with public sector, working with regulators, creating so much value that went even beyond the banking space.
Herbert and his brother Ike Imokede, even though we had an excellent relationship before I became governor and while I was governor of Central Bank, actually became much, much closer to me after I left the office of the governor of Central Bank. Now, this is the exact opposite of what you find with many Nigerians, where they come close to you when you're in office and they leave you when you're out of office, especially if you're in trouble with the authorities. But these are people who stand by their friends, who stand by you on principle, and sometimes pay a price